Space Nerds! Evocati is getting its updates. Now, I'm a little bit late to this one, but it's still news. This is what's going into 4.8. Item recovery is here, kind of, and it's going to bring us back to a state of you're going to lose all your stuff when you die, and yeah, you might be able to get it back, but you're going to have to pay. So we're going to go through all the details of this, what people are saying, what it's looking like, and how much it's going to ruin the game forever again. Kicking off, we got our testing and feedback focuses up here. Item recovery on the vehicle loadouts, Xenothreat, tactical strike group, stability bug fixes, all that jazz. Jumping down to the gameplay section though. This is how they describe item recovery for vehicle loadouts. This update focuses on the latest updates to item recovery with ship loadouts. By default, when your ship is destroyed and you file a claim, you will receive the base loadout for that vehicle. This loadout is defined by either your RSI web hanger configuration or the default in-game vehicle configuration. Any modifications you made, like components or weapons, will not be stored as part of the default claim process. Does kind of fit in with what we saw from item recovery back in the day, but we're going to talk at length about item recovery and how terrible it could be, how great it is, all the opinions about it. Someday when this loads, you can see that in item recovery tier 1. Now we've been doing tier 0 since about this time last year, which basically meant you don't lose anything ever. You lose stuff in your backpack, but you don't lose anything that's equipped. That has been both a blessing to a lot of people because obviously this game has a lot of ways to lose things that aren't your own problem, aren't your own fault. Glitches, falling through the floor, the inventory just removing things for some reason, killing you for no reason. It can happen. And that's kind of the pain of playing a game that's not finished or anywhere near close to being release ready. But it's the reality. So they did this for a year as part of their playability push. You can gnash your teeth all you want, but last year they did try to do some playability stuff to make it more interesting to people who were there at that time playing as opposed to people in the future. I think this is a big part of it. They didn't have to do this. They could have just kept the game in as full loss the whole time and not dropped any item recovery stuff in until T2 came along. But here we are, implementing on it halfway through. And the big difference that's coming here is that, well, we'll describe it as what they say in here. When you lose your ship, you have to claim it. And you have to claim all the things on it. Saving a vehicle loadout. You can save the loadout current ship vehicle, you can save the current ship loadout using the camera icon in the ASOP. This is one of those things I'm seeing people being like, CIG, they used a fucking camera. How could they possibly, they don't, all this stuff. And then like, I'm pretty sure the newest update patch has a saving sign, not a camera. So just take a minute when it comes to the Evocati things. Like the little bits like that. Will probably be changing before the patch goes live. Anyways, loadout reclaim cost is based on both the hull and the saved components configuration. This will cost significantly higher than a default claim. You can either choose to claim the base ship, which is just going to be a simple get your ship chassis back, whatever the defaults are, or you can claim it with the saved snapshot that you saved before, which would have all of those components on it. Saving of crafted vehicle components, they say. They are still working on making crafted vehicle components persist through claims. For this build, crafted items will come back in their default state on the next claim, bro. Oh, that's too bad. Hopefully, as they say, for this build, is just for this Evocati build, right? We'll have to see if this is something they can get in by the time it goes live. I think this is a really big part of this. If you can claim and get back your crafted items through a optional process, then we start seeing some real benefits of being able to make sure you're actually keeping a decent wallet and more reliability when you're crafting things. You know, this is almost getting to the point where you're insuring a crafted item. If they can make this work. We'll see. Consumables. Ammos and missile are treated as consumables. So, ships reclaimed from a snapshot will not include ammo or missiles, so you're going to have to pay extra for that. Fuses are restored according to the vehicle snapshot, so that's part of the default. You must restock and rearm via ship services. So, it's also going to be a lot more expensive to go out there, shoot off your Polaris's torpedoes, screw a bunch of people over, and then go and get them redone. Now the problem, sure, this makes it a lot more economically unviable to be an ass and just go around shooting everybody. But this also can put a little bit of a barrier there between the people who have a ton of money and can keep doing that, and the people who haven't. They haven't experienced any exploits. Nobody sent them a random amount of money, nothing like that. They're playing on the normal economy. Now you suddenly got like your really exploded, inflated economy and your rather normal economy, and it's just dependent on who you know and what you're doing, which is how life works. But the scale is so crazy that all of this, I hate to say it, I know some people are going to really hate this. All of this isn't really going to matter too much in 4.8. I'm meaning to make a video about this, but we're really just back to the same old CIG we were before. That is to say, when they're adding this stuff into the game, they're not adding it because they want you to have a better gameplay right now. That's why they were doing item recovery tier 0 and stuff like that. And, you know, tier 1 is definitely still that attempt to make the game more enjoyable while they bring in the actual functional parts of the game that are supposed to work. But it's very, very clear that CIG right now is just trying to get the actual systems that drive this game into the game and functional so that they can bounce the other systems off them, which was it's really close to what we were doing before 4.0. From 3.0 to 3.23, this is largely what they were doing. It was just a lot less direction, a lot less seeming connectivity between all the different teams working towards these things. And they weren't big systems like this. They were small features. It was like physical getting pushed around, physical reactions and being able to purchase ships or tractor beam functionality. It was the very basic stuff. Now we've just taken a step up, but it's still the same idea. I still think this is not going to be fun for a lot of people who are just trying to only play this as their main game right now. But let's keep going. Stored local ships and scraping, they say. There is a limit on how many ships can be stored locally within a hangar storage. Oh! Bricked ships will not be automatically removed from a hangar storage, allowing you to call them up on the hangar to retrieve any cargo that was within. You can scrap ships to remove them from your hangar. Scrapped ships which you own can be claimed back later. Do we get materials for scrapping them? That's something I want to know. Okay, it looks like selling and salvaging vehicle modules is disabled anyways, so you probably don't. You probably just like remove it. So, okay, this is also pretty big. First of all, a limit to how many ships can be stored locally within a hangar storage is a small step. That's a small step towards a reality that they almost never talk about, which is that you can't just go land anywhere for free. Very, 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 very limited discussion to the point where I don't even know where to go back to find it, on the idea that you have your home hangar, right? Everybody's gotten a hangar with their game package. I hope so. Otherwise, that's too bad. You have your own hangar. This is a hangar you own. It is yours. You don't have to pay for it. It's at your home location, wherever you mark that as when the game starts. But when 1.0 lands, the idea is if you go to another space station, if you go to another city, if you go anywhere else that has landing services, you will have to actually pay for the hangar. You'll have to reserve that spot. If you want to keep your ships in there overnight, you'll have to pay for the rent. If you have a gigantic fleet of ships and you're going to materialize them all and put them in different space stations, you got to pay for all of the storage of those ships in those space stations. We'll see if they stick to it. I don't know. But I think it's a great way to try and not allow people to just have fleets for no reason. And this feels like kind of a little bit of a step in that direction. Next up, they say brick ships will not be automatically removed from the hangar storage, meaning that you can go and steal someone's ship, even if they say it's marked stolen and claim it. It sounds like this is starting to decouple these things from the ownership system. Maybe. In some way, they're going to allow us to keep other people's ships without having it marked as stolen and have the system do some weird stuff. I'm imagining we'll see some glitches there, but being able to take somebody else's ship, even if they've claimed it and it still is accessible, you can pull it up, get the cargo out of it. That means it is a game state item. It's suddenly not the game recognizing it as somebody else's stolen ship that you can't do anything with. That's a big deal. These are not major moves in the sense that they're going to make a big splashy difference in the game as it is, but these are huge moves in terms of how the game actually works. And then they say you can scrap ships to remove them from your hangar. Obviously, you're going to need to free up space if you want more ships, but I don't know what you're getting from the scrap ships. We're getting there. We're getting there, man. We're getting so close to the reality of like, oh, somebody left something off in space. I found it. There's some dead bodies here. What the heck happened here? Let's take the loot. Let's take the ship. Let's go back. Let's salvage it. Oh, it's got some really, really good components in it. Cool. High level quality materials. Let's take that stuff, turn it into something else. Suddenly somebody else's misfortune was our really high powered gun. That's pretty cool. And yeah, this does start to lean a little bit more into tier 2 item recovery, which is ultimately where they're headed. The idea of tier 2 is once an item is looted, you will have the option to sell it, dismantle it for crafting items, or restore it with the potential cost of crafting materials and credits to make it your own. So the idea there being, once you steal something, it's not just some random thing that's in your hangar that might disappear. It's yours. Now you'd have to do something to make that happen, but they've already detailed that a little bit too. If you go back to the Star Citizen 1.0 discussion, Richard Tyrer actually explains the entire idea of being able to steal a ship and make it your own. Listen in.
Ship, you can mark it as stolen, either via an insurance claim or in your Moby. This will then trigger a dead man switch on the stolen ship, meaning it will cease to function after a period of time. But what options does this leave as a pirate? Well, you can still salvage it. You can tow it back to your fabrication hangar to dismantle it for resources. Or if you have a high enough rep with the council, our criminal guild, you can get the dead man switch disabled and pay for a new title deed to become its new owner.
I clap for that, bro. I clap for that, man. Let's go. That's sick. But make it happen. So the idea there is that everything's kind of permanent. At this point, things would be persistent, and you would be able to steal something from someone, and literally it would be your own. Suddenly, you don't have to work for it. You don't have to craft it. You don't have to buy it. You still have to upgrade it, maintain it, and keep it safe for yourself. But there is a lot more possibility in scavenging and piracy, and thus, we are going to need some better security systems. This whole thing is calling for better, and that's kind of the elephant in the room. Is like, you guys can keep working on this all you want, but where's our social tools? Where's our security systems to make us actually able to live in this environment? Moving on, the Vehicle Manager app no longer saves ships loadouts for claims. This must now be done via the ASOP to persist a loadout. So they're starting to move away from that MobiGlass app we've been using for vehicle customization since 2017, I want to say, 2016. The VMA is now limited to ship customization, similar to tractor beam interactions, and the VMA will now only display vehicles stored at the current player's location, regardless if you are the owner of the vehicles. Yeah, they are delineating the VMA for sure. Getting us more, like, I kind of appreciate how slowly they're doing this stuff. For anybody who plays Star Citizen regularly, but does not realize just how much development is going on, or doesn't pay attention, or hasn't been caught up, or anything like that, all of these things happening at once would be just, it's mind-f***ing, dude. It would be too much. I do think that the way they're slowly getting this in, obviously it works for them, and the way that they're working, but it really does help players wrap their heads around it. Onwards to bricked items. Each time an item or vehicle is claimed, it enters a temporary bricked state. The grace duration of this is 5 minutes. After this period, the item or vehicle is non-functional. So it's not necessarily you picked up a gun off of somebody and they press a button as soon as they respond and immediately you can't use it. But this does mean if somebody, let's put out a scenario, if somebody's fighting through Onyx and they die, and you're coming through Onyx a few minutes after them, let's say 3 minutes, and you find them. They've died, they've dropped their stuff. Yay, Star Citizen has changed. You can now loot these people again. That's wonderful. It was very annoying when you didn't kill a player, but you came across a player and they had all this cool stuff and you can get it because item recovery tier 0. Now, you can get it. You pick up the gun, it's super high powered, it's feeling real cool, awesome. You go to shoot your first bullet and you get halfway through the magazine before it just locks. Now, I'm guessing there will be some kind of timer that pops up on your screen to let you know that it's going to lock, but that is going to be a very... That's gonna piss people off. We'll see how this is delivered and how it works and if the player base can get along with it, but the bricked items is definitely going to be a pain point for folks. Same with vehicles. That would be funny if that happened to you in a ship while you're flying. Again, the timer helps, but still. Salvaging. For this release, selling and salvaging vehicle modules are disabled. Hull scraping for imprinted or bricked vehicles is functional, but does not reflect the final implementation. Okay. Death flow. When dying, similar to how it is in live, you will spawn with the gear you had equipped at the moment of death. Oh, okay. So they're still keeping your stuff. So can you can still loot it. I'm going to have to, I haven't seen Evocati yet. I'm going to have to get in and test this. But if you die, you'll respawn with your gear, but the gear is still able to be gotten, but it's not automatically bricked. So then wouldn't that mean that it's still technically these things are getting duped, or? That's weird. Interesting. Well, I do think that this offers a couple interesting things. For one, as said here, increasing ship combat payouts would be great. I think in general, well, we'll get to the economy part. Yeah, a lot of people are asking for mission payment increases. A lot of people are also probably saying this is a good change that's happening too soon because there are a lot of different ways to die in this game that'll lead to you just ending up having problems. To be honest, though, that's the problem with the game in general. If claiming costs increase significantly, there needs to be a counterbalance in mission payout, especially if missiles and torpedoes rearm comes on top. This is the inevitable problem we were going to run into with Star Citizen at some point. We're all begging for the economy, but at some point, the economy either has to come from increasing supply or increasing demand. And nobody really cares when supply is increased. I mean, we care. I won't discredit you guys. Plenty of folks have been complaining about the increase in economy, money in the economy, and just like in general inflation for a while. But they let the money run amok, and now they have to let the money sinks kind of run amok to catch up and balance out. We got to see what the burn rate is so that they can actually figure out what the earn rate should be. And it's probably going to be pretty painful. This is an interesting change, and there's a lot to learn here. I'm going to give this a couple more days in Evocati, maybe even wait for it to get into the PTU so that we can test it out ourselves before I put out a bigger video talking through all the details or my thoughts on this. This was just the first inclusion in Evocati. I am recording this on Monday, April 27th. By the time it comes out, I'll probably be out of town, and I will probably not be back until like the end of the week. So I'm guessing this is going to go wave 1, and we're going to learn a lot more before then. So whenever I see you again, we'll talk in a lot of depth about this. But this is a big change. The item recovery change is definitely a sleeper. I think a lot of folks like us who are the true freaking nerds of this project know it's coming, but a lot of folks are in for a big surprise with how this game's about to change. And that's like just one of 10 features coming in this patch. So we got a lot to talk about this month, but hope you got some info from this.